Welcome to the ManTFup podcast, season 2, obviously officially underway. Very excited to be back on the ManTFup couch. That sounds so dirty. But hey,
Well,
it is what it is. I'm KimmyB.
And Lenny.
Lenny had a week hosting everything all by himself without me, and
Aww.
it was almost like I caught him
Yeah.
off guard there. I'm surprised you didn't try to
A
kick
little
things
bit,
off.
yeah.
You good?
I'm a stumbler, you know.
And today, Len, I got to tell you, I'm so excited to have my girl, Misty Eyez. I don't know how to say your last name.
Alicea.
Alicea, because I've been calling you Misty Eyez for the 10 years I've known you.
Yeah.
And you have such an incredible story. I'm going to preface this entire podcast by saying, A, like, subscribe, follow, share everywhere. Comment, yes. I don't know if I told you this, Misty, but we would love to have you back after we aired this.
Sure.
To kind of address some of the comments, the questions
Absolutely.
that we get, because I'm pretty sure we're going to. But Lenny and I have had many conversations regarding the LGBTQIA plus community on this couch. Unfortunately, though, we have never had someone from the community as a representative.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult to, come from a place of authenticity. I can comment on things from a position of allyship
Sure.
and from advocacy, but I can't speak to the experience. And that usually is where Len and I start to bump heads, because, I can get very emotional, especially with the state of things, not just here in Florida, but around the country. And you immediately came to mind, especially on the heels of some sweeping legislation that is being pushed through the Florida state legislature. Our governor coming after a very renowned local establishment called Our House for, drag shows and parents bringing their children. So there's just a lot of conversation happening in 2022 about the LGBTQIA plus community, and especially the T, which is the transgender community.
Yeah.
And who better to address and answer than you, the queen advocate here in South Florida and, in many other places. So
Just don't expect me to man up, because I'm not sure that's an option.
Well, I think that,
But if you come to me correct, and even in the comments, if you don't come from a place of hate, I will meet you where you are, and we're going to have an honest conversation. I'm capable of having very difficult and challenging conversations, but if you come at me full ignorant, I can't help but meet you where you're at and be like, yo. I might come ignorant back. But usually if you come respectfully, I will 100% stay respectful. And the reality is I want people to understand. So I'm going to take my time and help you understand, because you don't. And that's my goal. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to scream at you. I'm not going to cuss you out. I'm not going to call you stupid. I'm going to be like, okay, think about this. What about this? And I come from a very diverse background. And I can see many sides of the coin. And I hopefully can help people understand things they might not have thought about before.
Well, I think, Len, speaking of the diverse background, maybe that's a great place to start today's conversation, is with a little backstory on you, Misty, and on your journey to, transitioning and becoming your full authentic self and all of that. So
just go, tell you about
sure, where are you from?
Go.
How did this start?
Yeah. So I'm a hillbilly. I'm from Anchorage, Alaska.
Okay.
My dad is an evangelical Pentecostal minister. I'm the oldest of 7 children. I was told my entire life I was stupid because I have dyslexia, and I didn't know how to read until 4th grade. In 4th grade, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and they're like, oh my gosh, your IQ is off the charts. You're super smart. You're actually smart, not stupid. And so I already started with a roadblock. I knew I was female at 4 years old in my brain. I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers. I always related with everything female my entire life. I would steal my sister's Barbies and their skirts and my mom's bra and things like that. But back then, 12 years ago when I was a child, many years ago, not 12, I was just kidding. But there was no internet. There was no Google. There was no cell phones. There was no way for me to find out that there are other people like me in the world. It was a very, very lonely place. And I used to pray to wake up with a vagina. And my mother finally told my father, and they had what my church called a deliverance, but you would probably call it an exorcism. And I learned to hide, and I threw myself into the ministry. I became a church camp counselor for 6 summers. I became a youth group leader. I became an overseas missionary. I went to Oral Roberts University, where the motto is expect a miracle. And I went there from 1994 to 1998. My senior year of college, I attempted suicide 3 times because I would rather go to hell than live the life on earth that I was living. because I chose ORU to get healed. I chose ORU to get fixed. And whether that was to be attracted to women or to be a man, I'm still confused because I didn't even know there was a trans thing until well after college element to my life. But I just knew I was broken. And finally, a minister pulled me off to the side and just really helped me and helped me realize that God doesn't make mistakes, and I'm not being fixed because I'm not broken. And that changed the entire trajectory of my life. And I moved to Florida instead of back home to Alaska and became an entertainer because I went to a gay bar and saw drag queens. And then bells and whistles went off on my head. Ding, ding, ding. Oh my gosh, that's me. That's a man with goddess. That's me. And I became a female impersonator. And then I found and met my first trans woman who was also an entertainer. And I was like, ding, 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 bells and whistles went off again. I'm like, wait, how did you do that? How did you get your lips like that? How did you get your boobs like that? And I was like freaking out. And she was like, sweetheart, you don't want to do this. Trust me, you don't want to do this. This is not for you. But I couldn't stop obsessing. And by 2005, I started undergoing hormone replacement therapy, but I'm already 6'1". I already have a voice that went through male puberty. I'm already built like a linebacker. What if I fail? What if I have to go back? What if I'm walking through Walmart and people are like, that's a dude with tits? Like, I was so afraid of my transition that I started medically transitioning without telling a single person, not my family, not my roommate, not my boyfriend. Nobody knew I was medically transitioning because I was afraid that I'd have to go back and start over, and I didn't want people to look at me as a failure. So finally, after years of hormone replacement therapy on the DL, finally, I was trying to look masculine. I put on a hat, put my hair in a hat. I was wearing a male. I was actually going home to Alaska to visit my family, and I was trying to look like a guy. And the person at the ticket counter was like, ma'am, miss, ma'am, I'm open. And I look up, and she was talking to me. And I was like, I was properly gendered, and I wasn't trying to look feminine at all. I was actually trying the reverse. And that's when I realized society had started to accept me, and it's working. And that's when I got my breast implant, and that's when my whole life changed again. And then in 2015, I went to SunServe, an organization, SUNSERVE.org, to get some assistance with a name change. And I walked in the door there, and the executive director at the time was like, hey, wait a minute. You have the X factor. I'm like, what the heck does that mean? He goes, people, when you walk into a room, people stop and stare. You demand attention. You're well-spoken. You're captivating. And I need to use that as a superpower. Can you work here? And I'm like, I'm, a world-famous drag queen. I'm not going to work at a social service agency. But little by little, I started stopping my drag bookings and started working more and more in social services. And by 2019, I completely quit, essentially, drag on a regular basis. I still do. If you pay me, girl, I'm showing up. I mean, $400, I'll come to your bar mitzvah. I got you. But I kind of put entertaining on the back burner, but helping others in our community became my priority. And in 2019, drag kind of took a big back seat, and that's where I'm at today. Social service goddess. I'm back in school, getting my master's in business and maybe hospital administration, but definitely business. And I'm just trying to become, what's funny? I was talking to, switching almost to gear. I was talking to one of my clients who is going through like an existential crisis, and she's like 22. And I said, sweetheart, when I was 22, I never thought I'd make it to 30. I never thought I'd make it to 40. I never thought I'd live to 46. You need to invest in your life. And only recently I've started to invest in my life and believe in my future because I can have a future, and I never thought that in a million years. So that's why I went back and got the degree. That's why I got married, and that's why I'm thinking about children, and that's why I'm thinking about a future because I believe I have one, where I never did for a long time. Surprised I'm here today.
That's a lot to unpack, Misty.
Well, you didn't give me directions, so I just dumped it all.
No, but
great.
I say, you started off by saying, just don't ask me to man
Up.
And I would say that entire story is
that's
textbook definition
That's a man the fuck up
of
story.
man
Well,
fuck up.
Manning
yeah,
the fuck
with
up.
testosterone not included.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
use that as a broad statement,
Mankind.
like anybody can.
I get it.
You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where it's really more of a mentality, like
Sure.
putting on your
Advocate
big
for
boy,
yourself.
your big girl pants, and just
Yeah.
getting it done and making the life that you want for
Believe
yourself.
in yourself, advocate for yourself, and demand at the seat at the table. I 100% agree with that.
And you have not only demanded, you have literally taken over the entire table, and you're sitting at the head of it now. But something that you said right off rip that I know is a conversation Len and I have had, that I have had with many individuals who just can't seem to wrap their brain around, age and what children know or don't know. You mentioned knowing that you were female at 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Expand on that?
Yeah. So when a human is in the womb, so let's go back in time. When a human is in the womb, there are 3 trimesters. The first trimesters, all humans are XX. 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 nipples, 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth, and 1 tubular. In the second trimester, that super testosterone gets injected into the womb naturally by the mother or the parent or the person carrying the child. And that testosterone gets injected into the womb, and the tubular grows to a penis or a clitoris. That is developed in the second trimester. Science can tell if you're going to have a penis or a clitoris soon.
Mm-hmm.
In the third trimester, that super testosterone stops working on your tubular and moves to your brain. That brain's gender is developed in the third trimester. And in a perfectly healthy situation, I think most babies are coming out with 2 arms, 2 legs, 10 fingers, 10 toes, a male brain, a male penis, or a female vagina and a female brain. But 1 out of 330 humans don't.
Mm-hmm.
And they're born literally with a brain of the opposite gender. Now, most children know that they are trans around 4 years old if they have siblings. If they don't have siblings, they usually find out at school when teachers are like, boys on this side, girls on this side, everyone let Misty, you're on the wrong side. And they go over to the other side. And if you go to an MRI or brain x-ray by 5 years old, by kindergarten, they can actually tell if a child's brain is male or female, biologically, scientifically. So when a trans person tells you they are born with a boy brain or girl brain, it's an actual biological, scientific male brain and a girl brain. And many children are aware of this at a young age. But also, let me state this. If you're living in an open and affirming household, you might come out. If you're like my household, I still prayed for a vagina in front of my mother. But my uncles were like, that's queer, that's a faggot, that's $3 bill, that's blah, 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 blah. And I witnessed my relatives, hillbilly, Alaska people, making fun of people that I knew I related with. I did not feel safe coming out at home. I did not feel safe talking about myself at home. So I tried to stay very much hidden and under the radar, knowing and believing that my family hated me. And even though I don't believe they hate me today, they don't like people like me, but I was born this way. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a choice. And I became conscious of it at a very young age. Again, most people between 4 and 7.
So I have a question on that topic. So, I understand that, and I'm sympathetic to that, and hopefully your parents are sympathetic to that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I've met children.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3.
Sure. I hope you meet them.
No, I mean, I have 3, but I've been around a lot of children. And, I've met children that clearly are different.
Mm-hmm.
Sensitive,
may play with dolls, may not, but does that automatically mean that they're female? Or could they just be gay? Or could they, they could just be different.
Mm-hmm.
So my point to this is,
sure,
at what, and this goes to what Kimmy was saying before about the age of, I understand that you feel this way and you know that you're different. You know that there's something different between you and Johnny. But at what age can you consciously make that decision? Because let's just say you have a 5-year-old who plays with dolls and he acts feminine, but he's not. He doesn't feel like a girl, necessarily. So, how you handle that is going to change. It could be as stressful for a young boy who's got female tendencies or is gay.
Sure.
To get the pressure of, you must be a girl.
No, I totally agree with you. So a lot of parents have called me in the past, and I don't work with children in my department. I'm not in charge of children. I'm in charge of adults. But I'm the director of transgender services at SunServe. So a lot of people call me because they think that's an outlet. And it is. I will help the parents no matter what. But a lot of parents have called me in the past. My little Tommy put on a dress. He ran down the stairs singing, let it go, let it go. Is he transgender? I'm like, sweetheart, he just watched Frozen. That doesn't mean he's
Who
transgender.
wouldn't want to be Elsa, right? I mean, come on.
Come on. It's a powerful lady. Like, of course they want to do it.
She built an ice castle, guys. I
Yeah.
mean, it was pretty impressive.
My daughter
Yeah.
used to dress my son in dresses. You
Yeah,
know?
so that has nothing to do with it. Now, in our community, we use the words persistent, consistent, and insistent. So, me, for example, I watched Karate Kid, again, very giving away my age, I already said it out loud, but Ralph Macchio in the 4th grade. I was the Karate Kid. You could not tell me any different. I was Ralph Macchio, and I was like, whoosh, whoosh. 6 months later, I was just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. And I was Mary Poppins. And, you know, and that's normal for children. But when we're talking about gender identity, we're talking about persistent, consistent, insistent. So every time you put that little girl in a dress and she cries and freaks out, every time consecutively for a long time, that's when you have an issue on your hands. And when your son wants to be the princess in the Mario go-kart every single time, and every time they play house, your son is the mom or the nurse, or it's things, little things like that that you pay attention to. Still, let the kid come out to you. I mean, I do believe that there are stage moms out there that want their, oh, I want a gay kid, I want this kid. Let the kid come out to you, but that's things that you can pay attention to. Just because they play with dolls, they probably have 4 sisters. That doesn't mean they're a girl.
I mean, I've been around children for
Sure.
their entire life.
Sure.
So, you know, it's kind of you see it, and this, the point I'm trying to make goes to the you know, allowing
Well, put it in the context of
allowing
what you and
children
I usually argue
allowing
about.
children
Yeah.
to take hormone therapy at an
Sure.
early age.
Sure.
That is my question, because it's not really my question, it's my standing
Concern.
point. It's
your
my
concern.
standing point.
Yeah.
And it's because brain, male or female, is not fully developed to the decision making. You know, I mean, someone who might feel like they're a girl their whole entire life might not want to be a girl. They might want to be gay. They might want to be the bottom, not the top, whatever the case may be. So until a rational decision can be made, I think it's important.
Sure.
Not to, you know.
I agree with you on that too. All right. So right now in America, the World Association for Transgender Health, it's called the WPATH, the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, WPATH, has set strict guidelines since the 70s. We call it gatekeeping. You can't do this unless you do that. So, for example, if a child is consistent, persistent, insistent, mommy, I'm a girl, mommy, I'm a girl, mommy, I'm a boy, mommy, I'm a boy, I won't wear that dress to church, I won't wear that dress, whatever, I won't wear those pants, whatever. Then they seek therapy. And for children, you have to go to therapy for a very long time before they even consider taking you to a doctor. And for children, they don't take estrogen or testosterone. They take what's called a puberty blocker, and it pauses their puberty. So, for example, if you are assigned male at birth and you go through puberty, you get a deep voice, you might get a receding hairline, you might get a wide jaw, you might become 6 foot tall, you might get huge linebacker shoulders. Those things might happen to you when you go through puberty.
But you get a massive boost of testosterone, right?
Yes.
Like when, as a young man, when you go through puberty.
Correct. And if you pause that, if you take your testosterone blockers and you pause that puberty, let's say devil's advocate, let's say I wanted to be a girl because I had a crush on a boy and he said he liked girls, so I'm going to become one. Let's just say I did it for the wrong reasons and somehow I circumvented the system and I got put on testosterone blockers. Once I stopped taking those testosterone blockers, guess what?
You're going to go through
It's
puberty.
unpaused. You go through male puberty. And that happens all over again. Like it's never stopped. There's nothing irreversible. It's just a pause button. And for me, someone who did go through male puberty and dealing with clients, most of my clients, I would say right now I have roughly about 625 active clients. And my clients that have gone through male puberty and transitioned a little bit later in life are unemployed, underemployed, can't find a job because society is uncomfortable with a very tall woman or a woman with a voice or big hands and big feet or whatever gets them recognized as transgender. But my clients that were able to pause their male puberty have jobs and have assimilated into society and nobody knows that they're transgender and they're safe. So for me and my standpoint is how can it become a political issue? 1 in 700 children are born with a cleft palate. That's just a thing. How can a government say, well, that kid can't have a cleft palate surgery or cleft lip surgery until they're 18? That doesn't make sense to me. So if a child, again, is consistent, persistent, insistent, sees a therapist for a year, and then says, I'm ready for testosterone blockers, how can you say not until you're 18? Because now you've put your life in jeopardy for hate crimes, for suicide ideation. That I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on laser hair removal because that doesn't go away. That's forever. And I want my voice done. That's $12,000 surgery in Korea or $18,000 in America. I don't have that laying around. So my concern is, don't give a child estrogen in middle school, elementary school, for example. Don't give them testosterone. Just pause their puberty. That's it.
Did you know that? Like, I wasn't aware of
No.
it. Like, I was,
No,
like, because when
because-
you hear the
well-
conversation, they throw around hormones, they throw around a lot of
You
words
know-
that make it sound very severe
Yes.
and very
Well,
life-altering.
we've had this.
Yeah.
We've had many of these conversations in here on this typical subject. You know, I'm not too big on my statistics, but transgender percentage in the United States per capita, 3%.
Sure, I'll accept that number. Although recently I was in another online debate with somebody who says it's now 7%.
I think
according
the whole
to Williams-Sonoma or
LGBTQ
something.
across the board might be 7%.
Well, it's growing.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
6.9 and change, whatever, and but the transgendered is right around 3%, I think.
I would.
But I mean,
agree with that.
you also said that 1 in 333 children are born with,
Yep.
Yeah.
what would you call that? Non-matching.
Isn't it like gender
that, like-
dysmorphia or something?
Gender dysphoria. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Aren't there also situations where parents choose?
So that you're talking about ambiguous genitalia. So you're talking about 1 in 500 babies are born XXY, which is intersex. And that's when the baby is born and you can't quite tell if it's a penis or vagina, and it's a little confusing. And usually for hundreds of years, doctors would take the baby in the back and fix it before the parent even saw the baby. Now they've stopped that and it's a little more complicated. But when it's ambiguous genitalia or XXY or Klinefelters or intersex, that's not on the table right now. They're not talking about that baby. They're talking about that it looks like a perfectly healthy vagina or penis, and they are saying their brain is not matched.
yeah,
it's
but
not
isn't
matched.
there some Asian countries that made a lot of little boys into a lot of little girls to
I've never
make it
heard
easier
of.
to get them out of the country?
I have
I'm dead
no
serious. I'm dead
idea.
serious.
I
Like
honestly don't know what
Thailand.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
For instance.
I do know Thai has a lot of lady boys, is what they call them, the katoi, but I don't know about children doing this.
It's
You're saying
it's
that
not
basically
children.
they-
It was
they
done to
reassign-
children.
They reassign.
They
them.
reassign the boys to girls because the girls are a much higher commodity.
Oh, you're talking for human trafficking.
I'm talking for whatever.
Or is
It's
that- oh, no, no, but
it's a
that's-
third
that's-
world country,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
but I
it's
mean-
I have
something that
never
happens.
heard this before.
Look it up. It's
No, I
there,
believe
and
you. I
this goes way back. But
Because I know in China, if you were born a female, they would kill you.
Yeah, that was the whole.
it's the
That was
opposite.
population control.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
opposite.
And now they're having a massive problem with that because now they've got
Yeah.
all kinds of boys and they don't have enough women and they can't procreate. Haha, take that, stupids. But no, I love when we get people in that can explain things a little bit more in detail because, again, to me, I feel like that's a little bit more reassuring to folks who, I mean, people are going to feel how they feel about it. As
Sure.
parents, they feel very strongly about parenting. But for me, when you hear that it's really more of a pause and not this complete transition or a stop down in an 8-year-old, because that basically says if at 10 or 12, I realize that I don't necessarily feel this way, that like now I'm in a different space,
Right.
you know, again.
So a lot of the fear mongering is what's happening. And I've seen people on the news talking about 12-year-olds having genital mutilation and that doesn't happen. You don't get bottom surgery. We call it top and bottom surgery. No one touches your genitalia surgically until well after 18 years old. That's never happened. It's not a thing that's done in the United States. I don't know about Thailand or any other country.
But
But in the United States, that doesn't happen. Now, when you pause your puberty and you have been living and assimilating into society, and we call it socially transitioning, wearing boy clothes or girl clothes, and nobody at school knows. You just, when you start to get about 14 to 16 is when your body develops naturally. And yes, 14, they start talking about top surgery for the guys. And about 16 is when they remove the breast tissue. If you've been living as a boy for 10, 11 years and nobody at school knows you're a girl, and now even with your puberty blockers, your boobs are starting to grow a little bit, and that's becoming problematic for the whatever team or football or whatever. They have talked about it earlier than 18. However, in the 90s, a girl in my sophomore class got her boob job for her 16th birthday. So I don't think top surgery is.
I don't think that's and again, it goes to context. If you have a family that's accepted you, you know, and I could clearly see from, you know, some of the people I've been around, you could clearly see the kids are different from the time they're 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and then they become aware of it, you know, when they really become aware of it when they're, I would say, 10, 11, because before that, it's just, you know, it's...
I'm a kid.
But imagine living, and I guess this is the other part of that conversation, if you're not in an affirming household, if you're not in an accepting household, if you're not in a place or space where you feel safe.
Sure.
And now you're starting to get boobs and you identify as a boy. Like, can you imagine hating you must hate everything about yourself.
Many clients have come to me and they have huge scars where they have taken duct tape and taped down their chest because their parents won't buy them a binder or they won't do it a healthy way. So they do it themselves with duct tape or monster tape, and they have like ripping scars where they've actually shredded their skin. But they would rather be dead than have chest tissue. Boys don't call them boobs. It's chest tissue.
Chest tissue.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they would rather be dead than have chest tissue. And so they're trying to force it away and hide it, and self-harm and cutting. And I've seen people go through drastic measures to try and stop their puberty if they can't get help stopping their puberty.
That's so heartbreaking.
It is. But back to my 3% of the population.
Sure.
So, you know, this is a big topic now. It's everywhere. We had the thing with the senator that went to his...
Oh, the senator that voted against gay marriage and then went to his son's gay wedding.
Yeah, right after he voted against it.
Right after he voted to ban gay marriage, he went to support his son, who was gay and getting married.
You know,
but you know it's political, and he was probably doing it for his constituents or his funding. And
exactly.
But how, as a constituent, do you take that person serious?
Oh, I'm with you.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Like totally. And how is your son?
But that's
Thank you.
That's a big thing in this country. We look at what DeSantis is doing, right? We look at what DeSantis is doing, and you know, listen, he's got his issues. He's got his issues, but when you look at the population of Florida is 19 million people.
Sure.
So probably 9 million of which are South Florida.
Yeah.
Then you have the rest of the state. So when you look at DeSantis and you go, all right, it's 3% of the population is got these issues, but 97% of the population has issues with that 3%.
Right.
So who is he going to play to? It's politics. It's simple politics. It's the same with the politician that went to his son's wedding. He loves his son. He doesn't care.
Okay, but let's be very clear. 97% of the population does not have an issue with 3%.
Okay.
And where I know, but
let's
I know
just
this.
Say,
but
let's
wait,
say 50%.
This is where it gets frustrating, though, because what I can't wrap my brain around is that 3%. Why would you be okay with anybody suffering, right, in that way, when they don't have to in this country and their life has absolutely no implications on yours? Like, I just don't understand why we're passing legislation that literally doesn't benefit you, Len, in any way. It doesn't benefit you. It doesn't harm you.
It
does nothing. It doesn't. It has
that.
nothing to do with you or your children. So why do you care? And why would you, as a human being, want to see anybody suffer in that way if they don't have to?
I don't want to see people suffer, but
when you say things like, but then again, let's go back to that 3%.
No,
it's mitigating, though.
It's not that it's mitigating. It's that, you know how I feel about things. We live in a democracy, and a democracy is based on the majority. So, you know, you have the battle that's being fought, however noble it may be, okay? I think this is my opinion, Kimmy.
I know.
I think it could be fought in a different place. And the thing about the school,
What do you mean by a different place?
Not in a different place, in a different way.
Okay.
You know, it's very confrontational, and whenever something is brought up that has to do with the community,
Yeah.
okay, it's gaslit by the politicians.
They're not stupid.
You're feeding the politicians
in the sense
of
going around
they're
it
using
and
it.
talking about babies, right? They've politicized it in the way of, you know, it's our kindergarten kids being taught about all of this madness. It's our house, and oh my God, they're putting, and it's like, no, those are parents that brought their children willfully to a show that's been going on for 5 years.
I took my kid to Marilyn Manson and put him in the front of the pit at 11 years old. That's my choice.
As a parent.
That's my choice. As you know, I'm going to raise my kids the way I want to. Now, back to the whole don't say gay bill that passed.
Switching gears.
Yes. Well, it's kind of on the same. It's kind of on the same thing.
Page,
You know, I had issues, and like I explained to you the other day, my issues are not with a child getting counseling or talked to at kindergarten level. That's not my issue. My issue is who's doing it and why. So, I was telling Kimmy, I expect teachers, I would want teachers to discipline my kid, to, teach them manners, don't eat like that, put your napkin in the lap, those kind of things, which are across the board. This is, these are the normal staples. Every kid should have these foundations.
Sure.
And every teacher is on the same page with that. Not every teacher is on the same page with how they express things. You growing up in a religious family, would you want your dad teaching children about sexuality or gender identity in kindergarten? No, but he might be a qualified teacher.
So I think you're confusing something. The way the law is initially written, I have no objection to. And again, we're talking about gaslighting and fear-mongering, but the way it is targeted is to parents. We don't want people talking about sex education to under 4th grade. Nobody's doing that.
I know that.
That's not a thing.
We've definitely talked about that.
That's not a thing. So they're trying to create a law to stop something that's
not happening.
Yes,
to make it seem like it is.
Yes.
But what is happening because of this law, now teachers that have rainbow stickers in their door, and we're not talking about just elementary school. We're now talking about high school and middle school. They're cracking the door open is, your children, what about the 5-year-olds? We don't want them. Who's teaching sex education to 5-year-olds? Not a single school in the United States of America, let alone Florida. It's just a thing that doesn't happen. So talking about that, now in the state of Florida, they're taking all the rainbow stickers that say this is a safe place. If you're different, talk to this teacher. You can hide out in this room if you're being bullied. All that's coming down. And now, especially in Leon County and Orange County, if a teacher, okay, let me just backtrack a little tiny bit. When I was little, I was called faggot, sissy, queer, mama's boy, whatever. And I would come home and be like, Mommy, what's gay be mean, Mommy? And my mother would be like, honey, you're not gay. You are on the swim team. You can swim real good. You're not gay. Gay people can't swim. So now I'm confused and I go back to school and I'm like, okay, whatever. But when I would talk to my teacher would be like, don't act like a sissy. Stop being a sissy. So the teachers were part of the problem. But because of the Trevor Project, teachers started to be educating on how to stop bullying, how to stop children from self-harming, how to stop children from committing suicide. So now teachers are more open and affirming and understanding. However, now this new law, you have to put a kid's name on a list. Have you heard of Schindler's List?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. They now have to put their name on a list that says this child name is LGBTQ. Now, if that kid, especially in Leon County and Orange County, but in the entire state of Florida has to be put on this list now. In these 2 counties, if that kid goes on a field trip, is in a gym class, in a sports team, all the parents are now notified that there is an LGBTQ child going on a field trip. They're not saying the name of the child because we're protecting the child. But now these parents are going to be like, wait a minute. My little Tommy is going on a football retreat and there's a gay kid. Now they're painting children as predators. A, that's not a thing. B, insert witch hunt here.
Yeah.
Now all these parents are going to try to figure out which little LGBTQ kid it is, and are they gay or are they trans or what's happening, and they want to protect their kid. And now that is putting LGBTQ children at a great place of harm. And when you're bullied, all people get bullied. First of all, if you're bullied because you're redheaded or freckled or fat or Asian or whatever, you go home and you tell your mom, I was called fat, bullied, Asian or whatever. Your mom, 90% of the time, is also fat, redheaded, bullied, or Asian. But when your kid is LGBTQ and they come home and say, Mommy, they threw a school book bag at me and I can't breathe and I thought I was going to die. And your mom's like, what happened? And like, well, they called me faggot. And the mom goes, well, you're not gay. You can swim real good. I mean, that's what my mom said, but I'm sure other parents say other things. They don't know how to deal with it. They weren't traumatized in this way. And now they come out of school and they're put on a list. School's not a safe place for our children right now. And that's what's really scary.
School's not a safe place for any kids in the United States.
True. But even if it's 10% for LGBTQ or 3% for transgender, you should advocate for those that are the weak of these. You should help people that can't advocate for themselves and speak up for themselves. Who cares if there's only one Asian kid in the school? That doesn't mean you have to witch hunt them. And we as humans, the human condition, the human population, we often feel that we live in a teeter-tot society. And again, speaking of my mother's a very large woman. And when we were little, my mom would sit in the Walmart parking lot before going in because she was afraid to take all 7 kids into Walmart by herself. So she had to make sure the parking lot was safe and, whatever. If she saw a heavy person walking into Walmart, my mother would say, oh, if I ever get that fat, kill me. And we would look at each other and be like, she is that fat. And I realized at a very young age, my mother would point out other people's flaws because she wanted to be flawless. And another part of the human condition is we are so insecure. Even the prettiest girl, even KimmyB, is insecure about things. We compare ourselves to standards and we want to be this and oh my gosh, what about that little tiny whatever? We fear things. And oftentimes we feel we live in a teeter-tot society where I have to make you feel worse about yourself. Not saying you do this because I know you don't. But not saying I'm going to make you feel worse about yourself so I can feel better. Now that we talk, that's when we, as humans, attack the Jewish people. That's when we attack the Irish or the Italian. And then later we attack the blacks. And now we're attacking the gays and the transgender. But focusing on targeting these communities and attacking them doesn't actually make anybody better.
No. It's
I have to, I just, as we're talking about this in the teeter-tot society, the other thing that I hear a lot when I'm having this conversation in, mixed company is I don't mind it, but stop trying to force it down my throat.
Who's trying to force it down anybody's throat?
Well,
I hear that a lot too. And I'm like, well, who's shoving it down your throat?
But it's one of those things where I think part of that conversation is, it has always been. Right? There's an incredible documentary about the transgender experience, and it goes back to talking about, even turn of the century Hollywood. There were plenty of situations where men were dressed as women and things of that nature, but it's unfortunate because we have vilified, the transgender community. I remember them making, specific examples. Normally, if you see a transgender, and it's always, for the most part, a transgender woman, it was the guy in Silence of the Lambs. Right? Yeah. They're usually fringe people, right, with something deviant and wrong about them. So that's one of the fears that's built in. When we talk about the LGBTQIA plus community, it's one of those things where I just get so maxed. I'm like, this is not new. And that's where my frustration comes from. It's been around since the beginning of the time. It's written in the Bible for a reason because people were gay back then. So stop acting like this is something brand new and you're seeing, oh, now everybody wants to be gay. Yes. No, everybody doesn't want to be gay. People are feeling more comfortable because we're in a space, or we were getting to a space where there was a level of acceptance never before experienced. We pushed through gay marriage, and you had people finally willing to stand, in their truth and be happy and proud, but working at the Pride Center. Some of the stories, especially of the older gentlemen who lived through Stonewall and things like that, and when it was illegal and you could be arrested for being gay. And then even here in the state of Florida, where you can be fired for being gay, you can be denied housing for being gay, it's a right to work state. you know, that's a frustrating conversation to have with people because at the end of the day, we've been pushing heterosexuality down everybody's throat since the beginning of time because it's quote unquote normal. Now you have a community that just wants to live their life and see maybe a little bit of representation. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, heaven forbid we have a whole show on drag. It's called Pose, and it was one of the most successful shows.
It's amazing.
You know, RuPaul's Drag Race, one of the most watched shows
it's
on
still,
cable
and people
television.
watch it all the time, and they don't even, you know, it's not, and the going to the cramming it down your throat thing. Okay, prior to 2007, the iPhone, social media. Prior to that, it was always here. I grew up in South Florida. I grew up, you know, I was born on Miami Beach. I grew up here. That was always the norm for me.
So how is it being shoved down your throat then? Give me an example because I don't understand.
Well,
And I'm saying in general,
it's not necessarily me.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay.
Okay, it's not necessarily me.
I'm saying
But
I've had the
I
conversation.
have to. I look at it from different perspectives. I look at kind of the big picture. Look at it. So, you know, my mom's from the hills of Kentucky. Now, I've been there. It is the scariest place I've ever been. Okay, it's truthfully.
Poverty, yeah.
Just truthfully, we were 5 miles off of a main road. There was you didn't see one black person in 5 counties.
And you had to go through a creek to get to your house.
Yeah. So when you take people who live in an area like that and have never, ever been exposed to anything other than their little creek community and shitting in the outhouse, then they feel like you're cramming this down their throat because all of a sudden on their phone, that's all they're seeing.
You're talking about social media or TV or
yes,
movies.
yes.
Okay, so now let's flip coins and be the opposite side. Imagine being an LGBTQ child growing up and being forced to read Romeo and Juliet, being forced to watch soap operas with your grandma, being forced to watch all that. And there's zero representation of you anywhere.
I understand that completely.
So now we're forcing heterosexuality on children that might not be heterosexual. And I know that we live in a cis-normative world and we live in a heteronormative world, and that's just the way it is. I'm not complaining, but I'm saying, for example, switching gears completely, what if I were to tell you that this is a nude Band-Aid, and this means it's skin colored, but it's white or Caucasian? Now I'm telling an entire population of people that they're not skin colored. That's not inclusive behavior. So when you do have a TV show or a movie and there's a gay character, I don't think it's shoving down people's throat. Speaking of Kentucky, I lived in Kentucky 1 whole year. It was my senior year of high school. My dad, again, is a minister. We had to move around a lot. It was Burkesville, Kentucky. It was on Lake Del Hollow on the bottom, on the Tennessee border. Literally on the Tennessee border, you could drive to Tennessee and get liquor, and you could drive to Kentucky and get a lottery ticket. It was like right there. And in Kentucky, there was barns. And I remember going into a barn, and if you smelt the hog poo and the cows, and oh my gosh, you walked in and it was like, oh my God, you thought you were going to die. And if you had to scoop poop or whatever and you had to be in there, 20 minutes later, you're in there, it doesn't stink anymore. You kind of forgot that it stunk until you go in there tomorrow and it's, oh God, it stinks again. That's called desensitization. So the reason Hollywood, and I'm thankful for this, that they do have LGBTQ representation is for that very thing that you call shoving down a throat, is desensitization. If bluegrass people are going to be like, oh my gosh, there's gay people on this TV show, don't watch the TV show. But hopefully when you see a gay person in real life, you'll be like, oh, my favorite character on Grey's Anatomy is gay. Or my favorite whatever. I guess it ain't so bad. It's normalizing this behavior.
Too, yeah.
And
that's what it is.
That's acceptable, but it seems like it's everywhere. And I grew up on Sanford and Son and Archie Bunker, and which was the polar opposite of what's going on today. Although we had, the Jeffersons, we had, Good Times, we had,
But even Archie Bunker, like real talk, because I've been actually thinking about this. Super racist, all of it. But you know what? He would have called somebody light in the loafers and still had him over for dinner.
Right.
Like really and truthfully,
Yes,
like
yes.
he called Meathead a sissy boy because he wore a man bag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back then, remember?
Yes.
Like I mean, so when you think about it, Archie was more progressive than some of these idiots sitting in the Florida State Legislature right now 50 years ago. And it's
Right.
funny because at the time we use Archie as this kind of, oh, we don't ever want to go back. I'd take Archie. I would take Archie, a world full of Archie
I have to
bunkers
agree.
You're
right
sitting
now
right next to him.
over what we're looking at right now, Len, because to what you're saying, you're basically when people, and I'm not pointing this at you. I want to be very clear to anybody watching this podcast. When I direct this, I'm not directing it at Lenny, but when people say things like, you know, I'm okay with it, but just stop shoving. What you're saying is we want you back in the closet.
Yes,
Like
that's
it's
100%
okay. It's
what they're
okay.
saying.
Do what you want to do on your time, in your house, behind your doors. But you can walk hand in hand with your wife down the street. You can tongue kiss. I've seen some of the most inappropriate shit come out of hetero people. way more than any of my gay friends that are married. You know what I'm saying? Promiscuity, all of that, rampant amongst all of my gay friends are settled down. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about who's setting a good example, the irony is just mind blowing. And then when we talk about don't shove sexuality down my kid's throat, I'm like, but you're okay with, and I'm a Disney person. I subscribe to all the movies, but you're okay with sexuality being shoved. The Little Mermaid, Snow White. I mean, we can find issues with all of these to some
Sleeping
degree.
Beauty.
There, you know, I mean,
has to
there was no consent. She was also passed out. Think about it. You wonder why little boys don't take no for an answer or think it's okay to sleep with women who are, you know, incoherent. Well, I saw Prince Charming do it, and he got a wife out of
He
it.
kissed her.
My
Same
point
thing.
is, when they're 3, though, that's the 3-year-old's equivalent of the 20-year-old frat boy. But my point is, stop saying you're not okay with sexuality because that's not the truth. You're trying to make yourself feel less homophobic, less transphobic, less bigotous.
And you would be more comfortable if everyone stayed in the closet.
Yeah, like that
You
to
didn't
me,
have to be exposed to it.
that to me is just the bigger
Yeah,
issue. Is like
I'd
I'd rather have you say, because when you're talking about Johnny having a girlfriend in kindergarten, you're okay with sexuality, or he's going to be a lady killer.
I think that's a big part of it. But you have to look at who's looking at this. Who is looking at this? You know, any place past Palm Beach is Bible Belt in Florida.
But Len,
Sure.
Any place.
wait though, and I say this only because you were talking about the majority before. Kansas just blew all of this up. You know this, right? And we're not getting into the abortion conversation, but when they actually gave the people of Kansas the vote, they voted against banning abortion in their state.
Perfect.
When the state legislature has the choice to do it with autonomy without going to the voters, what happens? Indiana, the ban passes, right? So we keep assuming that the majority of people feel this way when really it's a few very loudmouthed extremist politicians acting on behalf of a very small portion of people, which you love to say. It's a small amount of people making a whole lot of noise. So to me, it's put it to a vote. We didn't get to vote on Don't Say Gay. The state of Florida did not get to vote on that. We as constituents, as people, as taxpayers, as people who voted those people into office, didn't have a say in that. We don't have a say on what's happening right now with our transgender youth.
Well, maybe that's the argument we should be having. Maybe that's what we should be trying to change, is taking a little bit of the power away from those politicians to make decisions on behalf of the entire population of a state without putting it to a vote. I mean, there's certain things. I mean, I you know, the whole gay marriage thing, I wouldn't even be a question to me. You know, it's not something.
What's the running joke? If they want to be miserable like us,
To you.
let them.
If you don't believe in gay marriage, don't marry a gay person.
Yeah, I mean,
Facts.
it's just that simple.
Facts.
I mean, people.
You don't like drag bunch? Don't go.
People. I've been to Lips 5 times for events. You know, it's just not. If you don't like it, you don't have to be in it. And the whole shoving it down the throat thing is a lot of these people. Doesn't have to be a lot. Okay, I know you don't want me to say a lot.
Well, it's all or nothing. It's
You
a lot.
can't say everyone about anybody.
Yeah.
But those people that are making that noise are the loudest ones. They're the loudest ones. They're getting their voice heard.
Are you talking about the conservative Republicans?
The conservative. You could call them conservative Republicans. There's plenty of Democrats who feel the same way about certain things. It's definite. And, as far as being shoved down your throat, and I get the whole representation thing, black, gay, Jewish, whatever, okay? But literally, and I like watch History Channel all the time, but every commercial for every mainstream product, every commercial has a biracial couple or a biracial situation, and this is what is making people from Kentucky go, you're shoving it down my throat.
But 60 years ago, that was illegal.
And it could be again. If the Supreme Court has its way historically and traditionally speaking.
Yeah. It and I get that.
But I also think that part of the problem is, as progressive-minded people or as accepting people, we have taken for granted what we believe this country to be built upon. And that seems to be a scary thing. And I had this conversation with Len probably about a month or so ago just in terms of talking about social media and how I'm seeing, an increasing number of posts that are anti-LGBTQIA, that are perpetuating the propaganda. There was a lot about ice cream. I don't know if you saw it. There was Pride ice cream. So people were snapshotting this picture and saying, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about shoving it down our throats. They're trying to indoctrinate our kids, ice cream and Pride. And I'm like, your kid's not going to be gay because they had Pride ice cream, guys. That's not how it works. Your kid's not going to, watching television doesn't make your kid gay, But I feel like as an ally, and I had this conversation with Len, it's one of those things where I don't snap back at everybody. And I wonder if that is part of the problem, right? Is that I haven't been as outspoken as I should have been with a situation that is so quickly deteriorating. Like, I really believe that this is the new civil rights. We're literally the law that Ron DeSantis used when he came for our house, 1947.
I get that. And to your point on the social media, CNN owned by Murdoch, right? Rupert Murdoch owns CNN?
No, doesn't
Fox
Rupert
News?
Murdoch own Fox?
Oh, he owns Fox?
Yeah.
I thought he owned CNN.
No.
Who owns CNN's owned by a church.
That's Ted. No, I thought it was Ted, what's his name?
No, he doesn't own it anymore.
Turner, right? Is that who I'm thinking
Turner
of?
Broadcasting, no.
Okay.
It's owned by the Pentecostal Church, I believe.
CNN is?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well. So, if you have these two things, and with social media, which is controlled by people, it's private. It's not, social media is not a public thing. The public's allowed to use it, but it's a private person going, do this. So when you are heavily involved in the LGBT community, they gaslight you. They gaslight you with all of that stuff. I don't ever see anything that comes across my feed that has to do with the LGBTQ community. Nothing. I never.
These are friends of mine, though. These are people that I follow. These aren't strangers. Though,
I get it, but it's our company markets to.
Yeah.
Our company markets our product direct to consumer. How do we market direct to consumer? With social media. How do we find the person that wants to buy our product?
The ones that go to the gym.
I guess.
Demographics. Yeah. Then Google goes one step further and they pick who they want to send the ads to. I can go to
algorithms.
I can almost drill down to, women in Hollywood in 33023.
So Len, what parameters are you going to put on this episode when you push it out?
I'm not boosting these. These are
I'm joking.
But you know what I'm saying.
We have this conversation all the time.
Yes, we have this conversation all the time. But that's how they're gaslighting these issues. And that's by gaslighting you, Kimmy, it makes your voice louder, which in turn makes
Len,
the people over here go, you're shoving it down my throat.
Gaslight several times. Can you explain your definition of gaslight? Because I think your definition is a little different than mine.
I look at it as Kimmy is an advocate for the community.
Sure.
So all the things we want to put in front of Kimmy are things that are negative against the community because that makes Kimmy outraged more, which makes her voice louder. And it perpetuates this thing.
So how is that gaslighting?
You're talking about the conflict.
The conflict.
Because
they're
when you
throwing gas on the
intentionally-
fire.
yeah,
Sorry.
when you
They're intentionally
getting me
riling.
They're
ramped up.
targeting her.
Yeah,
They're targeting Kimmy.
Sure, that's also called algorithms, and that's
Yeah.
big data. So if you like so for example, my husband, who is a straight Latino man, everything that comes on his feed is big-breasted women. Everything that comes on his feed is anime or Japanese women. Everything that comes on his feed, and I'm like looking at, he's on his phone next to me, and I'm like, wow, you get totally different things than me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if she likes or comments on something and some of the hashtags or the keywords are whatever, she's going to get more of that.
So this is to my point.
Okay.
So these people who are controlling social media or programming social media or looking at these algorithms can set an algorithm to send everything that has to do with LGBTQ to Podunk, Kentucky.
But Kentucky.
Listen,
But why would
let
they
me
do
finish.
that?
Why would they do that?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
They
How would that
do
benefit
it to
anything?
throw fuel on the fire, and that's why you get these comments of "you're shoving it down my throat." You say, "Who's shoving it down their throat?" You have no idea, but the feed.
But Len, what is
Richie-
the population of Kentucky? Like, I'm not worried about
It's not
Kentucky.
a population.
I'm worried about the stack of papers that I have
It's-
sitting in front of me from Utah and Idaho and Texas and Florida and places where real things are happening
This is-
outside of the sphere of social media. Like, this is like as much as
But
social media.
where are these people getting their information? Where are they feeling like it's being shoved down
But are
their
you
throat?
ready though, Len? On top of that, that is also how they were raised. You don't just all of a sudden become a homophobe or a bigot
Kimmy,
or a transphobe. It's something that you heard, and maybe you were progressing in the right direction in the sense of maybe you were
90%
becoming
of the
more
people-
open-minded.
90% of the people that were brought up that way, okay, will never come in contact with people who are not like-minded or not
Unless
like
they
them.
move to a big city or
Yes,
college
they're
or
not-
whatever.
They're not. They don't ever see
Well, no,
that.
because the people in their town are closeted because
Right.
they're
But-
they're
For safety.
because yeah they're
but that's
afraid.
their, that's their thing. Like I said,
But to be honest with you, I don't care if somebody in Albany, Kentucky is worried that the LGBTQ agenda is shoved down their throat, because anything with representation is considered shoving down their throat. And they don't want to know about it. They don't want to discuss it because their heteronormative, cis-normative, Caucasian life is the only life that matters. And it's their world, and we just live in it.
Well, it's funny because people get mad about cancel culture, but they're inherently trying to cancel a culture. Like,
Right.
you're mad at cancel culture, but you would like to cancel this particular culture, so much so that you're going to the state legislature. Like, you're literally trying to get it eradicated, like where people can't even say it, can't talk about it. We saw this, like the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida was supposed to impact kindergarten, K through 3rd.
yeah.
We just saw it impact middle school in Dade County when they tried to bring in sex education books, and they were approved, then they were banned, then they were approved again when the community was outraged, saying, hey, do you know what the level of STIs are in Miami-Dade County? We need our kids to have some sex education.
Let's talk about teenagers that are pregnant. They need to know. Yes.
It's
And
absolutely.
emergency contraception. So there were many. This wasn't just about sexuality or gender identity. This was also about, emergency contraception. This was about a lot of things. But it's like, parents, you're living in la la land if you're not talking to your kids in middle school in 2022 about sex, or you think that they are literally, the Virgin Mary with their blinders on. They may not be doing anything, but their friends are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just I don't know how we've gotten to this space where we're now rolling back the hands of time to the 40s and 50s. And I get that people are afraid of change, and maybe it was too much too quick. There's a lot of conversation about pronouns, obviously, and people feeling that that's shoved down throats.
Yeah.
We've discussed that as
Yeah.
well.
So Governor Santos even said, and I heard him say this on something about how, and he used this book as an example, and Tango Makes Three should not be in elementary schools. I've done drag queen story time several years. One of the books I have read in those several years is And Tango Makes Three. It is a true story about two penguins in Washington, D.C. Zoo that are male, and they mated, and they raised a baby. So one of the penguins, another couple, had twins, and you can't sit on two eggs at once and keep them both warm, so one egg was dying. They took that egg and put it in the two male nest because they were already sitting on a rock and helping that rock that would never hatch, but hatch. So they took that egg and put it in the two male penguins' nest, and they hatched that egg, and the baby was born, and it says, and Tango Makes Three. So our governor said that book cannot be in schools because he said that would be making children gay. Now, first of all, we talked about being transgender. That happens in the womb. Your sexual orientation happens in your DNA. That is also biological. That is something you can't choose to do. Nobody's making anybody anything. And when they talk about the gay agenda, I know what the gay agenda is. Do you want to know what the gay agenda is? The gay agenda and these drag queen story times is to stop bullying, again, exposure to people that are different. Some of the drag queen story times I talk about have nothing to do with Heather has two mommies. It's the last one I read at the Museum of Discovery and Science was Alligators Don't Like Flowers. It was about an alligator who was different, and or I think you used the word earlier that was, I used the words sensitive, but special, a special child. So this alligator was special, and he didn't want to eat the butterflies. He wanted to play with the butterflies. And the other alligators are like, butterflies are food, and you don't play with your food, and whatever. So this alligator was special because he liked flowers. And at the end of the day, we were reading to these children, it's okay to be different. That's the agenda. And if I were to come as a geisha and teach you how to use chopsticks and tell you how to say annyeonghaseyo and hello and goodbye and whatever, I'm not trying to convince your children to be Asian. And if I'm like, hey, here's hearing impaired and this is what thank you is and this is you're beautiful and this is how you talk with your hands, we're trying to reduce bullying by other kids that are like, oh, that's a faggot or queer sissy or look at that ching chong or whatever. I don't know what kids are saying. But we're trying to expose children to people that are different, to stop self-harm, to stop suicidal ideation, and help kids know that it's okay to be different. That's the agenda.
So you read to kids in drag at the Museum of Discovery and Science?
Once a year.
I love and do parents bring their children?
Lots of children.
Call the governor!
Yeah,
We're shutting down the museum.
You know what's funny is
Sorry,
I've done this like I think this is my 5th year. I don't know why I said 6. I think this is the 5th year because of COVID. That's why. Because with COVID, we didn't do it, of course. But the very first year I did it, I expected gay kids to come to drag queen story time. Yes, some of them were 2 moms and some of them have 2 dads. But I was shocked at how many heteronormative couples, a man and a woman with heteronormative, cisnormative children. And I'm like, wow, my heart went out. And one of them I talked to, I was like, what made you bring your kids today? Because they're like, can I have a picture with you afterwards? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I was talking to them. I'm like, what made you bring your kids? Why are you here? And like, I want my children to know that people are different. And I'm like, that is beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, whatever. So that's the agenda. That's the whole agenda. And what shocks me,
Scandalous.
Governor Santos doesn't want children at drag queen story times, but clowns are okay.
Yeah, well, as I was just going to say that the politicians, the lawmakers have really done a good job at villainizing people who are transgendered or gay and putting it out there that they're just different. They're not. And I don't want to compare this, but I have to. But
he called them a public nuisance.
But they make it seem like people who are different sexually are pedophiles.
Yeah.
They make it.
They're now making it so children are pedophiles.
They make it. And I would bet, I don't know the statistics on this, but I would bet that the majority of pedophiles are heterosexual males.
Yeah.
Family members.
I would bet.
Yeah.
I would bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's we've just watched a little bit of the Menendez trial, the Menendez brothers.
Yeah.
And there's with the awakening and the enlightenment of all of this stuff. If you look at the trial, those kids were abused.
Yeah.
But that was 1993.
But again, it goes back to that, like, this is gaining a foothold. The community fought for a very long time and is clearly still fighting to overcome these types of stereotypes, right? And this stigma. And we were making progress. And this is why I get so passionate when we have these conversations here, when I have them outside, because I understand where, to your point, like you said, Misty, you can see it from different angles. But it's just so heartbreaking to have somebody literally referencing you know,
There's
give me
no
a second
moderate.
though. A Supreme Court ruling from 1947, a time when literally we had black beaches here in South Florida, you know, in a community that was, you know, one of the last to desegregate. In fact, rumor has it, Len, that there's a restaurant somewhere in this area
Whatever.
that still
Yeah. Well, you know,
openly and actively participates in not serving people of color. You know, so this was something that was ingrained. So for you to reference this law that we know comes from a time before, you know, people of color had rights, women had certain rights, never mind when it was still very much illegal, and you're saying that men dressing up as women is a public nuisance, it's indecent, it's disgusting, it's not something children should be exposed to, you know, and then coming for a local business that has survived, you know, pandemic, lockdowns, Zika, and COVID, you know, like.
So, you know, you've asked me before about DeSantis, right? And how I feel about DeSantis. So there's no, for me, as sympathetic as I can be with all of these things, there's very few battles for me to pick with DeSantis other than the economy of South Florida. Because that's really, you know, that's the money's flowing here. We never shut down.
Yeah.
So I have to look at that part of DeSantis and go, well, you know, if I'm glad we were wide open. I'm glad I got to eat. I'm glad people got to work. I have to look at that part of him. So where I'm going with this is there is no more middle ground. You can't have a governor who's pro-business and not be, it's like they're all
but the difference
extremists.
with him is that literally if you don't agree, like this is another level.
Extremist.
But what we're losing our voice and our power. So I guess with this, I just want to say, you know, we saw it in Kansas. When you give it to the people, I don't care how you feel so long as I get a chance to voice my opinion on it.
This is the rallying cry, Kimmy. You came up with it. The rallying cry is start putting the decisions that affect people in our community back in the people's hands.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
I agree with you on that part.
Yeah, we can no longer depend on our governor to decide how to raise our kids.
I agree.
You know?
The governor should not have a say in how children are dressing and what medication they're allowed to take. Medicine should not be political.
I'm a firm believer that the education system in this country is fucked.
I would agree.
I would almost go to the point of I would almost go to the point of, you know, if they had a dress code in school, it would be good because it would take away the distraction. You know, and I mean a dress code. I mean,
I'm not even mad that just from an economic standpoint.
No, I mean, you know, like
talking about bullying,
if everybody's wearing the
same
same fucking
thing.
outfit,
Yeah. What are you saying?
What are you saying? So
your shoes suck. Well, so do yours. They're the same fucking shoe.
Listen, I'm lucky. I dropped out of school in the 7th grade in Dade County. Went to Dade County schools in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. They were fucked then. They're fucked now. So my kids went to private school. They didn't go to a Catholic school. They didn't go to a Jewish school. They went to a private school. And I looked for a private school that was very, you know,
not affiliated.
Balanced.
Sure.
Balanced, you know. And my kids don't know the difference between a white kid, a black kid, an Asian kid, an Indian kid. They don't know the difference. They're all just friends.
I don't believe that. I believe that
Listen,
you want them to not, but I guarantee they know
when I say to you, they know the difference now because they're teenagers, and that's out there. But when they were growing up, they didn't know the difference. When they were in kindergarten or they didn't know the difference. There was no bullying in the school. There was no, you know, it was just not until middle school. Middle school is when the bullying really gets going because the testosterone happens and the this and the that and the kids get going. I told you the story about the kid who was getting text bullied and he walked in and punched the kid in the face. You know, it's...
Well, I mean, the only problem with conformity when everybody does the same thing is that then it kind of, I think, that's a slippery slope to some degree because when we talk about not seeing color or not seeing somebody's experience, right, like it's very hard to identify, I think, with what they could have been through. And while that was a line that worked very well for a long time with people in the sense of, oh, I don't see color, that has become problematic. And
it
I know
is very problematic.
that's a whole other conversation. conversation, and I know Len is gonna be like, "This is the shit I'm talking about," and
That's another day.
it really is. But that's one of those things where it's like, if you don't see somebody's skin color, it's very difficult to see or to understand what their
struggling.
experience is. If you don't see that somebody is transgender to some degree, it's like, even for Misty talking about the day that somebody, 1,000%.
Everybody has those struggles. Those
struggles are different for people, though.
Yeah, of course they are.
And when you live in a society that doesn't accept the fact that you're human, that's
a different level. That's a different level of struggle.
But I get that. But it's everybody has a struggle. Some have less, some have more. It's there. I think that, having that choice and taking away that skin color or those differences at a young age, okay? At a young age. I'm not talking about for their whole life. I'm talking about a young age. Everybody's just a person. If you teach kids from the time they're born that everybody is just a person,
I wish we lived in that world.
Kids learn more from the time they're
0 to 3
years old than they do in the entire rest of their life. So if you get to that point and you teach kids to be good, and that person bleeds red just like me, and that person might have an issue just like I do, if you teach that, this will start to go away. It'll start to go away.
It will, but we also need people to then go, to your point, if you're teaching that, it's no longer shoving something down somebody's throat. Because now you're talking about acceptance across the board.
You
the way
you
are.
are.
The way you are. So
listen,
it's fine.
You have to. But it's.
So you're saying we should start now, but
it's
then the problem is we've got
generations away.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We've got billions of people on the planet, and there are people
Forget
still
about the billions of people on the planet. The only people we need to care about are the people that are in this country, because the billions of people on the planet.
But Lennon, there's hundreds of millions of people right now that are making it very difficult for some individuals to exist peacefully and fully as themselves.
That are
so
struggling.
You know what I mean? And that's not okay, especially when it has nothing to do with you. It's got literally no implication or impact on your day-to-day life except for being a decent human being. And that's
now,
the shit that's mind-blowing.
Speaking of these decent human beings that are marginalized and stigmatized, our governor has initiated the process for Medicaid, Medicare in the state of Florida to not cover any gender confirmation, anything for any trans person.
So is this therapy, the therapy that you were talking about, kids going to?
We're not even talking about kids right now. We're talking about humans. He doesn't want people in Florida on hormone replacement therapy or getting surgery. He has already initiated the process to stop Medicaid, Medicare, which
so wild.
That ball, when Medicaid, Medicare starts to do something, other people follow. So yes, I'm not on Medicaid and Medicare. It doesn't affect me today. But if Medicaid and Medicare were to like, hey, we're no longer assisting people that are wanting estrogen or testosterone at all, then then Blue Cross, then all these other people follow suit. And again, this little door cracked open with, children, the babies.
Yeah.
And again, fear-mongering, 12-year-old girls are having genital mutilation. Not true. But then making it for all trans people, all ages.
Well, this also started even with the Trump presidency when he started coming for transgender individuals in the military. And I'm like, shit, if they want to start, I don't care
the fear-mongering
if they're willing to defend this country.
It's not just on this. The fear-mongering is across the board. That's how they're moving.
But in your words, what if we just let people be people?
Yeah.
And if you're gay, be gay. If you're trans, be trans. I'll stay in my lane and mind my own business. Be black, be black. And we're speaking of racism. In the years of segregation, do you know why people were segregated? Black people use that water fountain. White people use this water fountain. Do you know why that was the law?
Was it?
Because what if a white person becomes friends with a black person? What if you find out that her kid is struggling and needs shoes? What if you give her kid shoes? What if you start to like her? What if she starts to appear as a human? Racism, Indians were savages. Slaves were not considered people. They were beaten, sold, treated worse than animals. They weren't even considered humans. Now, let alone, okay, fine, you're a human, but we can't talk, we can't be friends, because what if? So this fear-mongering former president said transgender is not real. Am I a figment of your imagination? And if we lived in the perfect world that you did, where just let people exist, that's not a reality.
Yeah. No,
And when these majority people are fear-mongering, being like, hey, you don't want the trans people in your backyard. You don't want those gay queers doing this and that. And oh my gosh, what if
Meanwhile,
you read a
your
book?
cousin's in the shed with the goat.
And the Republicans under the bathroom stalls humping their feet. You know, the transgender sex worker, the survival sex workers, you know, they go on just visiting tours where they're just visiting your city and they put up their ads. I'm here for 2 weeks and I don't know your wife. Go ahead and hire me. Do you know what they follow? The Republican conventions.
Really?
The Republican convention in Dallas. That's where a lot of the girls go.
I think they're all screwed. I think
So do as I say,
every
don't do as I
politician
do.
is.
Of course. But I think even beyond that, when we talk about, I think the other thing.
Should be more worried that DeSantis is going to be the next president.
Oh my
Scary.
gosh,
When
that
you
is
talk
so
about
scary.
the LGBTQIA plus community, though, Len, it's also one of, if not the most inclusive community, because under that umbrella, you've got every race, you've got every religion, you've got
course.
men, women. So sometimes when we're talking about marginalization, it's hitting on multiple fronts. You can be black, you can be trans, you can be female. Like now you're checking all the
Intersectionality.
marginalized boxes. And when we talk about also like the struggle, I was pulling this up from HRC, and it's heartbreaking when you start to get into the numbers of trans women in particular and trans women of color who are brutally killed
Hate
on a
crime.
yearly basis, and minimal resources go into finding out who did it, holding people accountable for it, because at the end of the day, the folks that are in charge of doing said investigations or prosecuting said people may subscribe to, you know,
One or the other.
this hate
Mm-hmm.
or fear-mongering, you know, type of ideology. When we talk about, you know, and this was one of the reasons that I wanted Missy to come in, suicidal ideation, when we talk about that level of struggle and many of them not being able to hold down jobs. I know even in working with, you know, AHS and stuff, when we talk about just HIV medications that are readily available in so many other places around the world, you know, here people have to struggle, and politicians constantly dangle that over individuals' heads. They're constantly trying to repeal access to these otherwise very expensive drugs, you know, and it's one of those things where it's like, it's my money. It's my taxpayer dollars. And if I support this community, how dare you say who can and cannot have access to it based on your, once again, religious preferences or your personal ideology, which are supposed to be separate from politics. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I think, holding people's feet to the fire. And before we get out of here, because I know we're going long and Misty's local, she can come back anytime. I have a feeling you're going to have some words for me, and it's going to come from one other, I think, hot topic issue, which is trans youth in sports. You know, we've seen multiple states either try to ban trans youth from participating in sports, and I take issue with it in K through 12, but I did tell you before we started this that I have an issue. I don't, you know, I feel like if you have pressed pause on your hormones and you've been competing from 8 till whatever, you know, if you were born male but have been competing with females on paused hormones your whole life, then to me, I say compete away. But in the case of the NC2A swimmer, Leah, who has made global headlines, she became the NC2A champion this year for female swimming. I was a little bit in my feels as a former, you know, athlete, just at the fact that this is a person who lived as a man, and I'm sure struggled for. I'm not talking about mentally what this individual has gone through, but competed as an elite level athlete, Misty, for 20 years of their life. Like, we know human anatomy, that's muscle memory, that's a level of training that very few people will ever endure or even be able to attain. And then took 16 months off, which is I think what's mandated by the NC2A, took hormone suppressants, and came back, and instead of swimming for the men at her university, swam on the female team and went from being ranked 462nd in the nation as a male athlete to being ranked number 1. That is a frustration to me, because I feel like there are women who competed for a very long time who gave their all to this sport. There's a girl who came in second who was born biologically a female. I don't even know the proper words to put it, and I'm sorry. Cisgender, if I'm being insensitive to the community. That can be heartbreaking to commit that much of your life to a sport, to attaining that level of achievement, and then to come in second to somebody who not 2 years prior to was competing as a completely, different gender with that level again of training and making it to that elite level of athlete. It wasn't like she just came out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? She was competing, but she wasn't podiuming. She was not stepping on a podium. She was 462nd in the nation, which is still impressive when you're talking about D1 athletes, but she's not going to the Olympics. And now all of a sudden she's literally the best athlete in her sport. Like, that to me is not fair. Had she competed her whole life, press pause on the hormones, puberty blockers and all of that, and then been on hormone suppressants afterwards and all of those things, I would probably feel very different. But even anatomically, she's had nothing changed.
Mm-hmm. She hasn't surgically transitioned
at all, which makes her, there's less resistance. I mean, you swam, like there's certain things that just give her a physical advantage. Also, she's built like Michael Phelps, for God's sakes. And I don't know, does that make me not an ally because I feel that way?
Everyone is entitled to their opinion, first and foremost. And I completely hear you and your frustration. In fact, as I'm listening to your point of view, I think that is 100% the argument why children should be allowed to pause their puberty and not be forced to transition until they're 18. Okay, that's making the statement. Now, to be completely fair and totally honest, I don't know the person you're talking about. I have not researched this and studied this. But what I do know in my own personal life, I started my transition in 2005. And I was able to pick up a couch and move it in my house by myself because I wanted to sweep under it or look for a phone or whatever. I could pick up a whole couch by myself. I go on testosterone blockers for a couple months and I can't move my couch. Like, literally, my arms 100% completely stopped working. Like, my husband, I'll be like, baby, come here. Oh, my gosh, this is so heavy. Help me. And he's like, really, Misty? This is not heavy. And he's like bench pressing it with one hand. My body completely changed with testosterone blockers. I totally hear you on the muscle memory. Your body doesn't forget. However, it's now intensely weakened. Now, when we're talking about intersex, Caster Semenya won, and I know a little bit more about that than this person. Like, I didn't even know her name. She won the 800 meter. She won the 800 meter dash in 2009 Women's Olympics in the World Championships in Berlin, Germany. She was assigned female at birth. She has a vagina. She's a girl, a 16-year-old girl. When she won the 800 meter dash, they looked at her and were like, "Wait a minute, you are a little bit strong. Square jaw, masculine forehead, big strong arms." She's probably taking testosterone. They tested her, and she did have an unusually high amount of testosterone for somebody assigned female at birth. Then they tried to look. She's like, "You guys, test me. I'm not cheating. I promise I'm not cheating. Look at my blood. I'm not." She's been training for Olympics her whole life. Why would she jeopardize her future? So they looked to her town. They looked to her coach. They went to the locker room. They couldn't find the source of testosterone. They looked inside this girl, and inside this girl, she was born with 2 male testicles instead of ovaries. She's what we call intersex. So, not knowing that she was intersex and producing her own testosterone, yes, she did have a quote-unquote unfair advantage. So the World Championships in 2009 fought back and forth. She's cheating. It's an unfair advantage. She doesn't know this is happening, and God doesn't make mistakes. And like all these people back and forth. So finally, the news came forth. This just in, national news, Caster Semenya gets to keep her gold medal. She's a female, assigned female at birth, but born with male testicles inside her body. She doesn't even know this has happened. She found out on national news she was a freak. The world treated her, I don't think she's a freak, first of all, let me say that, but the world treated her like she was a freak and or different and or othered and or outside, and they attacked her. She became agoraphobic, suicidal, and reclusive. But she got to keep her gold medal. Now, this launched an international debate. And I remember in 2009, 2010, I think it was Switzerland, got involved. And again, this girl's from South Africa, and she won the World Championships in Berlin. Somehow Sweden or Switzerland got involved, and they're like, well, she should be on testosterone suppressants for 6 months before the Olympics. And that was appealed later, blah, blah, blah. Now, with that...
They test her ridiculously.
They do.
Constantly. Yeah.
But with that mentality, if... What's her name, the swimmer?
Leah.
If Leah is not on testosterone blockers, there's no way in any shape of any definition do I think that this person should be competing in a female sport. However, if she is on testosterone blockers, and I do hear you, like my brother was also in, I almost said Olympic, but we did go to our Division I swim team conferences in we went national in our high school. My brother was better than me, and he would shave his legs because that little resistance. Yeah, if she don't have chest tissue to resist.
And she also has developed, to your point, she's 6'3". You know, she's got a pretty
lean,
and a massive wingspan. I mean, she's got I'm not joking when I say she's built like Michael Phelps. And I fully want her to live her authentic life. You know what I mean? I'm happy, and her teammates were happy until literally she went from being 462 to number 1, and they're here competing for national titles and getting beat by their teammate. And now they're like, you know, I can understand people feeling away about that.
I can understand it too. But also, the world has not created a safe place for her to exist. Now, if I'm going to sit back right now, I just thought of this idea, and I don't know if it would work. What if we had not gendered teams, but had amount of testosterone teams? If your testosterone is 800 and above, you compete on this team. If your testosterone is under 800, you compete on this team. But you don't get to go on appetite. You don't get to go on testosterone suppressants this week. For the test, it has to be 6 months or whatever in advance. So if your testosterone's under 800, 6 months from now, you
also don't get to take testosterone.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, because that exists. That exists
that
too.
That absolutely exists.
Well, no, and like when you get into the scientific breakdown of it, I mean, the amount of testosterone is exorbitantly greater. You know, even for the woman that you were just talking about, she's like at a 5, and the average man is at like 8 or 9. So, I mean, there's a pretty large discrepancy. And even when you take testosterone boosters, it might drop you down to 5 or 6. But to me, Leah never stopped training. She knew she wanted to come back and be on it. Like, you weren't out there trying to be an Olympic level swimmer when you were transitioning. You know what I'm saying?
But also, in your to be on your side of this conversation, I am for those of you that can't see me, I am a large and lovely woman. I am what you would call BBW. And as a beauty pageant contestant, I've been to national competitions. I've won Miss Florida, I've won Miss Florida Continental, etc. And when I compete in beauty pageants, I compete in the category called at large, over 200 pounds. And when a girl that has went to Miss Florida, for example, and competed 6 or 7 times and never won, and then she gains 100 pounds so she can enter the at large, I feel some type of way. Especially when she wins. I'm like, bitch. But I am happy when she can't lose the weight again. And I'm like, oh, girl, now you're 300 pounds forever.
Shady. No.
That's what you get.
I think the bigger conversation, and now that I know that it's not necessarily hormone, and that we're talking about estrogen and testosterone as kids, I think I feel even more comfortable saying, you know, as far as youth sports goes, if parents are willing to allow their child to be on puberty blockers, and that child then wants to compete and is competing from a young age where their teammates may never even be aware of their difference, then I don't care. Because if you've been competing with women the whole time and you've been, you know, your puberty blockers have been there, and then you've been on hormone suppressants, once you get to that age and you decide you want to fully transition at some point, like, the playing field is pretty level there. But to your point, Misty, if we don't allow that to happen, which is what DeSantis doesn't want, Texas doesn't want, and you know, all of these places, we'll never, ever get there. And we'll constantly be in Leah situations, and we'll constantly be questioning people's motives for transitioning. Oh, well, they were 462nd as a man. Maybe she wants to be a woman because she wants to be a national champion. And then that just hurts the conversation and the cause and the movement. But a lot of people were saying, you know, for folks like me who really do, I don't want to say I do hang my hat though. Like, I'm very proud to be an ally of the community, and I'm very proud to advocate for the community. But as soon as I said that, people were like, no, you either support us or you don't. And I was like, well, it's that all or nothing mentality. And that's where you push people to be like, what do you mean? Like, I go to bat day in and day out. I can't say that I feel that there's an injustice in something. like that's kind of not fair. So that's why I wanted to ask you.
Also, in this very argument, it's also biased. So I'm in the executive MBA program at FAU right now, and one of the guys in my program is also a soccer coach. And he came to me telling me a story because he knows I'm a DEI educator, et cetera. And he's like, have you ever trained the city in South Florida? And I'm like, yeah, I have. And he goes, well, blah, 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 this just happened. So on his soccer match, there's a child he teaches a girls soccer team, and there's a child on the soccer team that is now gender neutral, they, them, there, and got a boy's haircut and has been wearing boy clothes, hasn't medically transitioned at all, but has been socially transitioned masculine. The other coach saw the girls running around the soccer field and saw what that coach would identify as a boy. And he went up in front of the parents, in front of the stadium, in front of the other children, and started yelling, boys can't play on this team. Because he thought it was an assigned male at birth child trying to be a girl and play on the girls' team. And berated the coach and berated everybody in front of this child, embarrassed the holy crap out of this child. And the coach was like, first of all, she has a vagina. Second of all, she cut her hair. Third of all, stay in your lane. And they ended up letting this child play because he found out that she was assigned female at birth and then had no problems. But assuming the child was assigned male at birth, he had all kinds of trauma because, they can't play. But his thing wasn't against trans children, it was against trans feminine children. So it's a complete bias in the opposite direction. Well, never mind, I stand corrected, whatever. We need to educate. And that includes self-education and research. But again, I go into multiple corporations and hospitals, and I teach people about LGBTQ 101. And one of the first things I say is, I know some of you don't want to be here because this doesn't affect you. And most people don't give a rat's ass if it's not related to somebody they know, they don't care. But I think everyone should care a little, and at least be empathetic to know what the struggle is and where they're coming from. And if you deal with a client who comes to you and expresses, hi, my name is Misty, my pronouns are she, her, and you look at them and you're like, huh? Now you know where they're coming from. And that's why I do the trainings that I do, to help people understand. You don't have to agree with anything I say, but I want you to not get written up. I want you to not get suspended. I want you to not get a bad Yelp review because you were a little empathetic, heaven forbid that word, to somebody that's not the same as you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the coach might have came from. It's such a tough thing. Was he coming out of, a uncomfortable?
Are you rationalizing right now?
I always take the other side. I have to understand where everybody's coming from. Sure. That's how I feel. That's how I want to know. There's two sides to every story, and if you only listen to one or you only rationalize one, then you don't get to make your own decision.
But you do realize though that people just have historically had a bigger issue with when it comes to being gay, men being gay.
Yes, but
not
what she
women.
said about this, we're talking about a kid's
female
soccer team, right? We're talking about a kid's soccer team.
He was mad because he thought it was a boy trying to play on the girls' team when really it was. And the reason he didn't have a problem when he found out it was a girl is because that's simply. In his mind, boys are better soccer players, and you have an unfair advantage. Oh, you're giving him a lot of leeway.
I'm telling you that's where it's coming from. I'm telling you that's where it was coming from.
You think that not that a boy should not try to be a girl, but a girl trying to be a boy.
He didn't run up and say that gay kid can't play. That's not what he did. He ran up and said a boy can't play, and a boy can't play in a kid's soccer field in a girls' soccer game, and that's purely physical.
But he just made an assumption, though.
Yes, yes.
And how it was isolated and embarrassed and stigmatized and traumatized.
That's absolutely wrong. I get that.
And had he even seen if this girl could play?
Where he came from,
she might be the worst player.
She might be trash.
Yes, but where he came from was not a place of thinking of that. How he handled it was totally wrong.
But you realize that we have yet to push back on girls that identify as female trying out for football teams. Like, this has not made national negative headlines. Like, we usually commend young girls. I'm not talking about trans. I'm talking about girls who want to play on the football team, right? We're like, yes, honey, they're getting a scholarship. So to your point, right? Like, you're upset about a boy being trying like
But it all comes from men being
better.
better athletes. That's what it boils down to. It boils down to men being better athletes. Does anybody care if there's a girl playing wide receiver on the team? No, because they don't look at it as an advantage to that team. So the opposite team is not going to look at that and go, "Hey, they got a girl wide receiver. That's cheating."
But a point is still a girl trying to do something that boys do, and this is the argument: is this is a boy trying to do something that girls do. I think we're hiding behind the boys are better, but go fuck yourself, because honestly, homegirl that plays pro soccer can kick a field goal better than 90% of the kickers in the NFL. But my point is, you're hiding it behind boys are better than girls. It's not fair, when really deep down inside, the idea of a boy that wants to be a girl doesn't sit well with your spirit.
He didn't know that was a girl that wanted to be a boy when he walked up.
No, but
He
he just
did not
assumed
know
that
that.
it was a boy. What, trying to?
He
play with the
assumed
girls?
it was a boy. They have an advantage.
But even still, like,
he
what,
didn't know.
how did? But you don't necessarily How old was this? Not even that.
9 years old.
9.
Yes.
Do you actually? Most girls are bigger than boys at 9 years old. Let's be clear. Most girls are actually probably better athletes at 9.
It's not the point. The point is he didn't know that was a
Like I
kid that was.
You're really giving them the benefit of the doubt.
I'm saying
I'm giving
he
you
didn't
the-
know
I'm-
and he was wrong no matter which
Yes.
way it was going.
There you go.
I'm giving you the fact that he was ignorant. Okay, he was ignorant.
Okay, well, I'll take
Now
that.
he did approach it because that's a boy on a female soccer team, and they have an advantage. He didn't handle it right. He should have walked over to the coach. Hey, coach,
Hey,
got
But
a
even
boy?
still, if that
Number
coach,
thirty-
32 is looking a little sus.
You got a
Like,
boy on your team?
but again, this
You know.
isn't. But this isn't high school competitive sports. This isn't collegiate. This
kids.
is
It was
this
children.
is club level, Pop
Yeah.
Warner, whatever.
He didn't
And if
handle
that
it correct,
coach
but he didn't
had
know.
allowed it, if that team allowed that, who is this asshat to come in and yell this? Because clearly, if it's against regulations, it wouldn't be happening. You know what I'm saying?
But
Like,
also, it's not against regulation.
That's my-
that was
Yes, I know.
changed
and that is
with
my
Jazz
point.
Jennings back like 20
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, this conversation, we could clearly go on and on.
forever.
Yes. Misty, I have a feeling we're going to get a lot of comments
I'm okay for it.
and questions. So we would love to have you come back once we have some of those and we've kind of flushed them out and have you address directly, because, again, I can't speak to your experience. Len can't speak to your experience. Nor can we properly, I think, address a lot of the questions. And that's something that we've kind of realized, is that it's always better when you can have representation.
Nothing about us without us.
There you go. And trust me, we've tried to have the conversations without you.
No, I know.
They don't go well. They don't end well. At least not for Len and I. But no, thank you for coming in. I think the only other thing, because you mentioned the pronouns and just when you kind of slid it in at the end, that is one thing that I know a lot of people, and I even still struggle when people
Sure.
change and change and flip and whatever. How come the community is not more willing to give a little bit of leeway on that?
You know what's funny is I 100% agree with you on that. I think that people should understand better, because as humans, we already gender neutralize people we don't know. Someone broke into the attic. Oh my gosh, they're upstairs. Are they going in? Someone got hit by a car. Are they okay? I don't know if it's a male or female. They, them, there. Someone stole my purse. Is this their water? I'm going to leave it here for them. We automatically do it when we don't know. But when we see people, our bias comes in. That's really a man. That's really a woman. And that's when things counteract, because you're like, yeah, I know what you really are. But in 2019, Webster's Dictionary, singular they, them, there, became word of the year. And back in college, APA writing, for baccalaureate and master's level writing, you have to use an APA format. Undergrad or community college or associates is MLA, then it goes to APA. APA English, it is no longer correct to say every student must come to the front of the room and pick up his or her backpack. It is now every student must come to the front of the room and pick up their backpack. English has already changed. In 2019, singular they, them, here. Now, when somebody, and I use the analogy that if you're assigned male at birth, sorry, little busty.
Okay.
When you're assigned male at birth, you're born in Fort Lauderdale. When you're assigned female at birth, you're born in Miami. In order to get to Miami or Fort Lauderdale, and again, only like 1/3% of the population want to do this, but in order to get to Miami or to get to Fort Lauderdale, you have to go through Hollywood. You could fly, you could take a bus, you could walk, you could take a train, you could take a boat. But you got to get to Miami or you got to get to Fort Lauderdale. And a lot of the people that start their transition, especially those assigned male at birth, once they get into Hollywood, they get lots of roadblocks, lots of hurdles, and they often get stuck in Hollywood. That is what I call androgynous, genderqueer, non-binary land. And these people often use the pronouns they, them, their because that feels more at home. That feels more comfortable. And some people just move to Hollywood because they want to be in Hollywood. But a lot of these they, them, their people are slowly trying to get to Broward, trying to get to Fort Lauderdale or Miami. So when somebody uses they, them, their pronouns, that's just their safe way of saying, don't call me he, don't call me she.
Got you.
That's it. Did that make it more sense?
No, it 100% does. I think my bigger thing is I think that, I hate to say, I think that people from a certain generation are more accepting of.
She might be talking about me now.
No. What I'm saying is, like, for me, I look at it as a place, meet people where they're at. So yes, present with your pronouns, and from my perspective, I'm going to do my best to address you how you ask me to address you. I may slip up accidentally, like a Demi Lovato, and before she went back to using she and her, like I might have called them her. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And to have my head bitten off, even though I'm not coming from a place of malice, I'm not on some go yourself, you look like a girl, I'm gonna call you a girl, I don't care what you think. I'm doing my best. I can't transition that quickly to go from, the bias that I've grown up with looking at somebody and gender identifying to now all of a sudden, always coming through. And it's a process, right? Like it takes time. Again, we fought a long time to make the ground that we made as the community, and you can't throw all of that out the window because everybody's not moving at the same pace. And I think that causes a lot of friction with people who are trying to be more accepting, trying to move along with the times, to have their head bit off every time they make a mistake or they don't necessarily properly gender identify. Oh, you're a boomer, fuck yourself, you're this, you're that. It's hard. It's very hard. And I also think that I think it's doing a disservice a little bit to the community because it's kind of erasing all that fight, assuming that we live in this world where this is just how it is. Get with it.
Can I chime in a little?
Yes.
Does every gay person or lesbian or transgendered person get offended by that? Because I know, I play pool a lot. I used to play at this lesbian bar right up the street. This girl, Candy, she was, to me, a girl. And I'd always refer to her as she, her, right in front of her. And never bother. And we're friends. We're still friends. And I had another girl that I worked with that was clearly the male part of a relationship with two girls.
Sexual orientation has nothing to do with gender identity.
Okay, so for people like that, then there's no, she's still a her.
Yeah.
But she's
so again, gender identity has nothing to do with sexual orientation. One is in your heart. Mm-hmm. I'm attracted to men. I'm attracted to women in your heart. For Valentine's Day, let's say it's actually in your heart. Your brain is your gender identity. I am
feel.
A male.
This is who I am.
I am a woman. Now, you can be a masculine man and gay. You could be a feminine man and straight. Mm-hmm. Your sexual orientation has nothing to do with your gender identity. It has nothing to do with your gender expression. You could be a butch, masculine individual and express yourself in flannel shirts and khaki pants and still be attracted to men and still be a woman.
Me and I just don't know it.
What?
Is that me and I just don't know it? I do love a flannel shirt.
You
got
like
a lumberjack
comfort.
thing going on.
I do. I would never describe you as masculine.
I do like comfort. That's for sure.
So that a lot of people do get confused by that. A lot of people.
Well, it's these are all things that are out there,
right?
Because I've used the word tranny in here to Kimmy, referring to and I'm like,
I would try not to ever use that word again.
I'm just saying. I have I grew up with this. For me, it was, I've used other words
a lot too.
Yes,
so
I've used other words in here too that are probably
problematic,
not politically correct.
Problematic.
But it's everybody I've ever used it with has never had a problem with it or ever been offended
They've never
with it
expressed their problems with it.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's one of the things Kimmy just said that impressed me a little bit is she is an ally and she often does not correct people or give interruptive behavior.
Yeah.
But if we're going to sit here and talk and somebody over there is saying an anti-fat bias joke or a black joke or a gay joke or a trans joke or whatever, and I'm sitting here on my phone like, I'm not going to laugh, it's not funny, I'm an ally. Am I being an ally? No, I'm being an accomplice. But if I'm going to interrupt, hey, stop. Are you kidding? What are you doing? That's so, come on. You're better than that. Act up. That's an ally. Interruptive behavior is an ally.
Yeah.
Not being that way is not being an ally. So just because someone hasn't expressed their disagreements with you, now also, again, as a celebrity, as a local entertainer, as a beauty pageant contestant, as a figure of society, many people that surround me have been considered yes men. Now, especially when we're talking about beauty pageants and we're competing for beauty pageants, you do not want to be surrounded by yes men. And you're like, you should have won. Oh my gosh, you were the most beautiful. That other competitor was terrible. Your evening gown was perfect. You were flawless. Well, Diva, don't tell me I was flawless. Tell me how I could become better. You don't want people to surround you and tell you that you're fine. Now, as a radio person and as a podcast person, a lot of the people that are here are not going to correct you, and they're not going to object to your behavior and or whatever verbiage you're using because they don't want to offend you and they don't want to be isolated and or kicked out of.
Or they feel the same way.
Yeah, they could very much feel the same.
And that's the other thing. And depending on who your social circle is, if it's, you know, to your point, you're people from Kentucky, which I know it's not, but
No,
if it was,
listen.
No, that have never seen a black person and you drop an N-bomb, they may have no problem with that because they're dropping them left and right too, you know? So,
Yeah, or not at all, because it's not part of their society. It's not part of their you know, it's not like a topic of conversation.
But just because I'm not exposed to a struggling percentage of a population doesn't mean that struggling percentage of the population doesn't exist.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally get that. But like I said, everybody's got their struggles. And it's, you know, there's as many struggles going on in other places with other people.
Why do we have to rationalize that?
It's not rationalizing. It's not rationalizing. It's middle ground.
I hear you. I do think everyone struggles with something, but our former president and our governor is not telling you that you're not real and you shouldn't.
No, that's
a different level of struggle.
Listen, you have an ally on that side. Okay, you have an ally on that side.
Welcome
I want you to live your best life, however you want to live it. It's your choice. It's, you know, I believe in, you know, people being free to be who they want to be, and that's fine. I don't want the government stepping in on that. And you know I have a big problem with government overstepping.
Would you take your kids to drag queen reading at the Museum
I
of
would take my
Discovery
kids
Science?
to Lips. I'd take them anywhere. I don't. Dennis Rodman's at my house. You know, it's like, you know, there's, you know, Elaine
Lancaster.
Yeah, she was with us the whole shoot, the whole 2-day shoot with Dennis. You know, I mean, I have no issue. My kids were there hanging out with her. You know, him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's normal. Dennis and Lane.
Elaine, lives as a male. She's just an impersonator.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
She's not trans.
But it's, you know, it's to my kids. I didn't explain anything to my kids about Lane. You know, I didn't. It was just someone else who was there. We're hanging out with us.
I said I was going to say my last thing. The only...
But my other last thing.
Well, no, and then we're really wrapping. It's just when you say something like that, like, oh, I know this person. Like, it's that perpetual argument of, oh, I have a black friend. Oh,
also,
I know a gay person.
you could be married to a black person and still be racist. Just because you have a very close friend does not mean you are not something.
It's absolutely.
So I hear that.
So that is my only frustration, and it's not just you, Len. It's across the board, and why I find myself in difficult conversations with people that I love more and more frequently in 2022 is these statements like, I went to design school. Well, now you're implying that every man in design school is gay but you, when we have that conversation about...
Well, when I went, that was pretty much it.
Or the only straight hairdresser.
400,
but,
you know.
But it also stigmatizes, and then once again, that just leads to the conversation, which is just difficult, and that's what we're trying to get away from. So with that being said, I feel like this was a really, really good conversation.
I think so too.
Yeah?
I'm looking forward for you to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel that some of your so I can leave with a peaceful state of mind?
Nah.
Do you feel that some of your thoughts and questions or concerns might have been addressed and or answered?
Oh yeah, for sure.
For me, yeah, I'm very open-minded, and I'm very, like I said, to, I'm not to say that I don't have my things that I don't, I'm aggressive about, or I might not change things because I'll be like, suck it up, buttercup. But, I'm open-minded.
Well, we had specifically talked about, as parents and hormone therapy and things like that.
No, absolutely.
I feel like that was addressed well, and I had a much better understanding
absolutely.
of.
Yeah, I just want you to understand. That's my main.
Yeah, that's part of the misinformation that we get as people.
Yeah.
That needs to be addressed.
Well, and even the biological explanation about trimesters
absolutely.
and how things happen inside the womb, and but of course they're not putting that information out there.
No,
and
they're saying that children are being mutilated, and teachers are trying to teach kindergartners about transgender.
Well, and I've asked that. Have I not asked that question repeatedly? And I've asked that of many people. I'm like, okay, so Len has 3 kids. When did any of your kids come home between kindergarten and 3rd grade and tell you, they taught me about being gay today?
But
like,
it's like I said, as a parent, it's just, it's, if that conversation needs to be had, why does Timmy have 2 mommies?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that should be referred to the parent. That's all.
I agree.
That's my only thing. If it's a question that's outside the boundaries, that puts, and when I say outside the boundaries, not outside the boundaries, that's put on someone else's beliefs.
Got you. Yeah.
It should be directed to the parents.
Because you made the example to me, like, I don't want a Bible thumping, bigot telling my children about it, and then I also don't want a, flippant disregard for anarchists telling my child about the things either.
Thing.
My only problem with that is when you have kids coming to teachers who have always been a safe space. Like, parents trust teachers to raise their children. Many children spend more time in a classroom with a teacher than they do with their actual parents, especially now with parents working crazy schedules, inflation, whatever. When that's no longer a safe space, when a teacher can no longer address it and the child doesn't have that at home, I really am fearful because, like, Lenny, it doesn't matter for the kids who have parents like you who can come home and safely address those topics, right?
No, it doesn't.
For the kid that's parents might beat them, might put them through conversion therapy, might tell them that they're a freak, that they're a demon, that they're whatever. If they feel different inside, this is an extremely detrimental avenue that we are going down. And for a lot of teachers that have already been through it, who have talked kids off the ledge, who have helped children come out to their otherwise bigoted parents and watched beautiful relationships, to have that taken away from them and to be told that, just shut up and don't say anything or put them on a list. That's wild that we don't trust our teachers to make good decisions anymore. I mean, it's saying more about where education has come to, Len.
It's everybody has an agenda now. Everybody has an agenda.
But what about Tommy, who does have 2 dads, and Heather, who has 2 moms? Now in school, if they say, draw a picture of your family and you have 2 dads or 2 moms in it, you can't hang that picture up.
Well,
now
I don't believe in that.
Children that their families are wrong.
Or what if Miss Sanchez, who teaches me, has a wife?
Yeah.
And she wants to put, she can't address her partner because it could cause a question, and the question could put the school at risk for a lawsuit.
So if I'm going to psychoanalyze this situation one more time, I think our governor wants children to live in 1970s.
1947.
Not yet.
Another 1940s.
But for me specifically, when I graduated, I was born in 76. So in 1980, when I came out as trans to myself, but I didn't know there were other people in the world. I think he's trying to recreate a world like that, where these children, if they go to the library and say, I am having these thoughts, or I'm having these
There's
feelings,
nothing to validate
there's
them.
Zero resources. And they're going to think they are alone in the world. And then the suicidal ideation and self-harm. And they don't have a safe place to talk about it. And that's the world that he's creating. And that also is problematic.
Well, especially because it's not just him. It's in Texas, and it's in Idaho, and it's in many other...
It's in the Bible.
Many other
That's where
states.
it is. That's where the problem...
Well, that's facts. And
that's
it's
where
also
the problem
in
is.
states, I can't say Texas, but some of these other states that have very few people, but still have monumental power, in the U.S. Senate or whatever. But thank
Yeah.
you, Misty. You were incredible, and you were the right person to have this conversation with for so many reasons. So I appreciate you being patient and walking us through it and taking a very significant chunk of your day to be with us. Lenny, thank you so much for engaging the way that you did and for coming with your questions. I know you always do, but I wanted you to have the conversations that we have had
That's fine.
toe to toe.
Did I have them?
You were incredible. I'm very
just
very
wanna,
happy that we had this conversation, and I think that you clarified. I know for me, some things that were very important, and I'm now armed with more resources. And I think that I have tried more recently to step up and be a better ally, but I have to do more. And now I've gotten my confirmation that I need to come for those people that I see, because otherwise silence is basically compliance, right?
Absolutely. But I've witnessed you in several situations where you are not necessarily silent.
No, definitely.
But I don't see you at every situation of your life, so that could happen.
No, I think it's more the people on the social media that are further away from me.
Sure.
But with that and the perpetuation of just nonsense, it's like enough is enough. You don't get to just have free reign and spew your nonsense without being checked. I think there's just a need for checks and balances. But leave your comments, please.
Questions for
Yes.
when I will definitely be willing to come back in the future, because I feel respected and I feel safe to express things. Like sometimes you go into situations and you feel very attacked, and that didn't happen. And I think that you expressed thoughts and concerns in a very eloquent way, and I will definitely come back and address any other thoughts and concerns or questions that the viewers may have. I want people to understand, and I don't have an agenda except for I want you to accept all people and understand all people. And if I can help you do that, then I will come back and do that.
Well, thank you very much. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube Shorts. We are everywhere. ManTFup TV. You can listen to the podcast on all streaming sites. You can follow us on Instagram at ManTFup TV. Again, please like, subscribe, follow, share. Misty, thank you so much. Give out your social media information.
Yeah, so I'm the Eyez of Florida in most of my platforms. TheEyezoffL. So that would be like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. On YouTube, I'm Misty INFL, Misty in Florida. Facebook, I have a fan page, Misty Eyez. I do have Misty Alicea as my actual profile, but I think I've kept out on friends for that. I think that's it.
Yeah, we're going to tag you and everything we put up.
And SunServe.
SunServe, yes. If you are... SunServe was created in 2002 as a mental health organization providing affordable mental health therapy for $12 a session. So if you are in South Florida and you need to talk to somebody, we have therapists that can see you for $12 without insurance. If you do have insurance, we will link you to somebody in our collective that we love and trust. But at SunServe, we can help you for $12 a session if you don't have insurance.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. And we have youth groups. We have a senior daycare center. If you have a mom or grandma that's over 60 and a little wobbly and you don't want her or him at home alone while you're at work, we have a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, free place for them to come. And a little wobbly, like mobility issues or dementia or Alzheimer's, or you don't want them to burn the house down while you're at work. Free.
And are there any other resources for anybody that could be watching, whether it's a parent or a younger individual that feels like they may have related to something that you were talking about?
Sure, yeah. So we have a support group for parents. It is called Significant Others, Friends, Families, Allies. It's a SOFA group. It meets twice a month on Saturday mornings. It is for those that are related to and or in the life of someone that is transitioning. When a person does transition, their entire family transitions with them. And for example, when I was little, my siblings all got bullied because of me. And it affects everyone in the family. We do have youth services. A different drummer group is from 3 years old to 13. That is for the entire state of Florida, and that is for people...
Did you say a different drummer?
Yeah. That is specifically transgender related. For the entire state of Florida, it's a once a month group, and the entire family comes, and it's just to help teach about bullying and self-care and loving, and it's okay to be different. And then the regular youth group is 13 to 18, and it would be considered like a GSA kind of group. They have life skills, therapy, and like pizza night and movie nights and things like that too.
Love it. Well, thank you. And then if you think of any other information that we can throw up maybe in the end credits for national hotlines, because obviously it's a podcast, so you never know where people could be watching or streaming, just get that to us. But again, ManTFup TV, the podcast, season 2, definitely excited. And make sure that you come back for our Q&A with Misty Eyez.
Believe in yourself and advocate for yourself. Even if it's different, it's okay to be different.
It's okay to be different, Len. You're okay. Because you are very different.
Good luck with that.
We'll see you next week.